For those of you who are regular members of Bath Elim Church, you will know that every year we take time out of our schedule to look at the various departments across church. Not only to reflect on the year that is gone, but also to cast vision for the year ahead. And throughout this report, you're going to be hearing from those department leaders through some video content. So before we go any further, just let me give them a chance to introduce themselves to you.
My name is Richard. I'm a worship team leader and in charge of PA at Bath Elim Church, and I'm also a member of the leadership team.
Hello, my name is Dawn and I head up Lighthouse.
Hello church, my name is Nikki and I lead the Precious Ladies.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And I'm Laura.
And we lead the Limitless group, which is our youth group.
Hello everyone, it's I, Grace. I'm in charge of the toddler group. To all of us in toddler group, this is known as Little Friends.
Hello, my name is Sharon and I am the leader of Messy Church at Bath Elim.
There is no doubt the times that we are living in and have lived through for the past few months are, very overused word, unprecedented. And these times have thrown up challenges for us, no end of challenges, both personally and as a church. But one of the words that we were given right at the very start of lockdown, Sharon spoke a message and spoke about this being a period of reset. And it took me a while to work out what that reset might look like. And actually, this kind of thing is best lived out through experience. We have to experience it in order to understand what the reset is. The 18th century poet John Keats once said, "Nothing ever becomes real until it is experienced." And I am so acutely aware that this season has thrown up so many challenges for us personally and us corporately. Us personally, things were thrown up in the sense of we perhaps didn't realise that we had certain fears or certain insecurities that have been thrown up over this time of pandemic. It's brought things into the light that perhaps we didn't even know were there. And our natural tendency at that time is to retreat, to move away from. And there are those who have done that over this time, and that's not a bad thing. But as I thought about this word reset, I got a picture, an image of it being a little bit like a jigsaw. What I pictured was that the jigsaw, I don't know how many of you guys are into jigsaws, but what I pictured was that the jigsaw had been partially made up and some of the picture was starting to take place. There was little sections where the jigsaw had been made up. And what happened at the start of lockdown when this coronavirus hit us was that the jigsaw was thrown up into the air. And all those things that seemed to be in place and the picture starting to form were no longer, and all the pieces were thrown everywhere. I sense that for some of you, you think, why did lockdown have to happen now? Now, I don't mean to be selfish or insensitive when I say that and belittle in any way the global pandemic. But being real and selfish, we look inside and we say, why now? Why did it have to happen now when we had certain parts of the picture in place? This was so true in the life of our church too. There was things that we were really gathering momentum on. We were starting to gather momentum on some of our community outreach activities. We were starting to gather momentum in some of the way that we care and love one another. And we were on a good trajectory on certain things. But what we had was the picture was partly made up, and it was in the process of being constructed, and everything was thrown up. One of the questions that I asked department leaders as they thought through today were, what were the things that you found difficult at the start of lockdown? And I want to really thank the department leaders for sharing in the honest and real way that they did. So let's have a listen to what they had to say.
Laura and I have always talked about the importance of relationships with the youth group, with Limitless, and that's relationships with God, but also relationships with each other. And so without doubt, the hardest thing throughout lockdown was just to be able to meet on Zoom. No face-to-face meetings was really difficult. It just meant we were struggling or found it hard and challenging to develop those relationships with the young people.
Comparing ourselves is one of the biggest things. When you listen to other podcasts and you look at other churches and they do all singing, all dancing, show, etc., and you feel that you have to keep up with that. But God always...
I felt really pushed outside my comfort zone, and also I felt incapable and lacked confidence. And as a team, we saw what everybody else was doing, and they were doing an amazing job with their online lessons. And we felt pressured to do this as well. And I began to wonder why God had chosen me when I was none of these things and I couldn't do this.
So I feel a bit out of touch with some of my moms right now, but a lot of them are still engaging. And from time to time, I get a little message. I get a regular message from some moms. I get message off and on from others. So I'm a bit, my feelings as regards to how it's going is a bit 50-50 at the moment.
Many of you who are watching this will have served with these department leaders. And I really want to thank you, as they will thank you, for your support over this time. This time has not been easy at all. And you guys have rallied round them. You've also texted them to tell them that you've been praying for them, and so you have been praying for them. You've supported them in so many ways, and I really want to thank you for that. But however we look at this year that has gone past, none of us have been here before. None of us have got the answers to some of the questions that were thrown up in this time. And I want to say another thank you to our church leadership. That band of people, those brothers and sisters, really supported and got behind me at the start of lockdown to say, look, let's try things. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. And you've no idea as a senior leader how much those words support that senior leader. To release and to say, let's try something. We've never been here before, so let's give it a go. And the way that the church got round those ideas and get round some of the mistakes that were made and some of the things that we tried were truly encouraging and inspiring. Do you know, the worst thing that we can do is to think that we always have to have the right answer. You know, the wrong answer is something that we fear and we think it is the worst thing in the world. But actually, the wrong answer will tell us a way that we're not to do it next time. An experience lived and learned. And one of the things that we knew at the start of lockdown was that our God is a creative God. It's the very first thing we learn about God in Genesis is that He is a creative God. And He was going to take us into a fresh level of trust and dependency for the season ahead. And we were going to see things and start to experience that creativity coming through as we sought God for the season that we were entering. I'm so appreciative to our worship team who showed such flexibility over this time, both during our time of lockdown and also a time when lockdown restrictions were eased. We were brought into a fresh realisation that worship isn't just about singing, but worship is a state and a position of our hearts. Let's hear from our worship leader, Richard, who spoke earlier on about the comparison trap that we can all fall into.
We decided that we were just going to do worship in our homes and record things that are our sound. So those difficulties soon became our sort of strengths because it brought us closer together. It developed our individual worship and our collective worship within the family, within our families, and also within the church, because the church then could actually sing those songs. And it also allows us to develop into, look at what worship is. And it's not just about singing, it's about the whole person. The vision is for the congregation to be worshippers that are fully on fire for God, and understanding that it isn't just about singing songs. There's lots of other things that worship is. And we've started to slowly do that through this lockdown, so that they understand what worship truly, truly is, which would be a fantastic thing.
Thank you, Richard, for reminding us that we are all called to be worshippers. You know, the verse that we've got around the top of church, you know it, we've spoken about it before from John 4. The Father seeks such to worship him in spirit and in truth. And we, yes, are all called to be worshippers. This is not something that can be franchised out to a group. More from our department leaders a little later on. Over the past few months, as you know, we have been meeting physically, but while we've been meeting physically, we've also been meeting digitally. Let's call it fidgetily. We've been meeting fidgetally, and the reason we've been meeting fidgetily is for those who could not manage to get out to services, for those who really wanted to be here, but because, as I say, those who physically could not manage out, that's why we run those services. Now, that was for our people, that was for the people in the church. But actually, there's a brand new mission opportunity that is afforded to the church in this season that hasn't been with us before. And that is the ability to engage more online, to engage people more online, to create a short window, if you like, into the church. And so we will be continuing, when lockdown restrictions are eased, we will be continuing to do digital services. But we will also be making sure that we are missional in our approach. We'll also make sure that that content, a lot of it is outreach. A lot of it is sharing the gospel, the good news, the transforming nature of Jesus to transform people from hopelessness to hope, from darkness to light. And that creates a little bit of nervousness, because standing in front of the camera, doing what I'm doing now, is not something that I like to do. And I'm sure it's not something that you like to do particularly either. But it's something that we are going to need to get better at doing. We're going to need to overcome some hurdles. We're going to need to park some insecurities about how we look or how we sound in front of the camera. Because this is a mission field that God is calling the church to in this season that may not be around forevermore. The mission of the church has never changed. It's never changed from when Jesus said that our job is to go and to make disciples of all nations. But the hows of ministry can always change. How we do things and who we are engaging with can change. Jesus told us to make disciples, and he also told us that he would be with us until the end of the age. So what does that say about our physical gatherings? What does that say about our building in Charlotte Street? Is that not important, our physical gatherings, and is this space not important anymore? Well, let me hand over to Mike. Mike is our church secretary, and he's going to share a little bit about the building update, what we've invested in, and also a little bit on our digital approach as well.
Whilst the church was closed for services, the time was well spent constructively, as it allowed for much needed redecorating and refurbishment. Both the major and minor halls were repainted and new carpet was laid downstairs. I would like to give particular thanks to Dawn for all her hard work in overseeing all of this work. Due to the easing of restrictions in September, we were able to reopen the church for Sunday morning services. Despite having to wear face masks and adhere to certain conditions, it has been wonderful for those who have been able to attend and meet together again. Not everyone has been able to return to church in person, and so the services have continued to be streamed online. As you know, we are now entering a new period of lockdown and restrictions and will be unable to hold services in person for a while. We will continue using the technology available to us to hold our services online, thus ensuring we can still be in community with each other. We thank God for equipping his church at this time. The church doors may be shut, but the church is still very much alive and active.
I love that. The doors may be shut, but the church is still very much alive and active. So true. Now, I'll be honest with you, anytime we spend significant amounts of money on fabric and on the building, I feel an unhealthy tug on my heart, thinking about all the things that we could and perhaps the things that we should be spending our money on. But then I'm reminded that God is able to supply for all our needs. And also in Ephesians, the Apostle Paul says, now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine. I spoke in that verse for 3 weeks after we lifted the ceiling off in our main sanctuary. We spoke at that time about how this was not just a physical thing, but how this was also a spiritual act of worship, lifting off our ceiling. And we knew that God was going to supply, had supplied already, and was going to continue to supply us financially. And there have been times where things have been flowing, where the money has been coming in, and we haven't had to really trust God very much. And there's also been times where things have been quite tight, months where offerings are down and expenditure is up. And we've had to trust God even more. But God has absolutely promised and been faithful to supply all that we need. And as I was thinking about this jigsaw illustration that I felt God had planted in my spirit, I also felt that he was saying for us to finish what we'd started in the building. Our ceiling has been lifted off to show the most fabulous and beautiful gallery space. But as it stands at the moment, it's completely unusable. Therefore, over the next year, we are going to be making moves to develop this space, to restore it back to its former glory, making it fit for purpose for our generation and the generations that are to come after us. Let me talk to you for a moment about prayer. One of the things that the leadership feels strongly about is the need to sharpen our capacity for corporate prayer. Let's listen to Nikki, who has started to model something in the Precious Ladies group.
So after the summer in September, we then encouraged the ladies to form prayer triplets or doublets with somebody who you could pray with consistently. We believe prayer is important and we're supposed to pray without ceasing. So I want to believe, I meet regularly with Sharon once a month to pray for the Precious Ladies. And I know some ladies are also meeting regularly to pray as well. We then resumed the Friday prayer Zoom sessions, which is being led by Harriet, and that's going on, and that's been very good as well. I've been able to attend a few, but Harriet is currently leading the Friday prayer Zoom meetings, usually at 7 or 7:30 on a Friday, and Harriet is responsible for ensuring the Zoom details come out on time.
Martin Luther once said this. He says that to be a Christian without prayer is no more possible than to be alive without breathing. Thank you so much to Nikki and Harriet, who are leading that Precious Ladies group, and thank you for all that you're doing in this area, for inviting these ladies into prayer. But I know it goes without saying, but we can't stop at this. There's so much more praying that we have to do. Everything that we do is birthed in prayer. Everything that we do, whether we advance or stop, move to the left or to the right, is because it's birthed in prayer. And so where do we start in that? Well, what we feel challenged to do is to have an early morning, once a week, prayer time for the whole church over Zoom. It'll be over Zoom at least in the very short to medium term. Who knows long term whether we'll meet physically. But that'll be meeting for as short or as long as it has to be. And it'll be probably before, while you're getting ready to go to work, or just before you get ready to go to work. And it'll maybe mean getting up a little bit early. I don't know how many of you are early birds. I'm not particularly an early bird, but still feel so challenged in this area that we are to call people regularly, at least once a week in the church, to corporate prayer. And I would encourage you, as the details come out about that, to get plugged into that prayer time. So during this time, in conclusion, we have continued to learn, we've continued to adapt, we've continued to trust God for our next steps, and He's not let us down. And I thank God for the continued enthusiasm and energy from our department leaders at this time. I encourage you to continue to engage with us, to explore together, to move forward together. We are blessed when we are blessing each other. I believe ultimately what God is asking us to do is to start to rebuild the jigsaw. There's a jigsaw piece beside you that He wants you to pick up, and He wants you to put that back into the picture. And so I would encourage each one of you to be involved in what God is wanting to do in this next season. I'm going to leave the last word to the department leaders, who, one of the questions that I also asked them was, what is your vision for the season ahead? God bless you all, and we'll see you soon.
Just really vision ahead to be a platform where we find friendship, we're friends with one another, and we commit to one another, to our wholeness spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. You know, God desires wholeness for the whole woman, and that encompasses our spirit, our soul, our body, the total woman. So that's my vision for the season ahead.
Well, the vision for the season ahead is all about, for me, it's about developing others. We've got such a good group of people at Bath Elim in the worship team, developing them and developing the youngsters as well, both in the PA and on the worship. And because they are the future of our church, the future of worship.
And like I said, the ideas that we had going forward in September, I would like to put some of those into practice, and I really hope and pray that I will get an opportunity to do that, and I will continue to pray as well for new ideas. You know, the kids love craft and stuff, and making up little packs, which I normally do at Christmas, for them to take home, to make a card or picture for mom and dad, because in toddler group is one or the other parent usually comes, so there's always something to take home, for something to see. So I might engage in that a bit more, because the kids seem to love to do that, especially if they know they're making it for a special someone. I think the main thing is just engaging when we come back, and rebuilding is my hope and my aim, so that because before all of this, we were at a point where a lot of our moms were coming into, you know, church and being part of other things. So I hope that I can rebuild that friendship, that feeling of family, and that the parents will re-engage with Elim, with our toddler group, and that where, even though there was been this long gap, if I can make that reconnect with them again, I can get back to where we were before. So my vision is that I can continue where I left off, and be even bigger and brighter, and bloom bigger and brighter, and everything like that. Like the smile. That's all I have to say. Bye.
I believe that the aim of Messy Church remains the same: to create a safe and spacious place for people to experience and to know God more. How that is going to happen in the midst of what we are going through, I genuinely don't know. But I come back to the really clear word that God gave to Sue, actually over a year ago, that God gave to Sue when she was ironing, and she noticed how easily the creases had come out of some dry laundry. And I'm just going to read what God said to Sue, because I think this is, I've said it before, but this is just so important for us to hold on to. God said to Sue, Messy Church has been settled. It's time to open yourselves afresh to me. Lay everything open. I want to turn up the temperature. The dryness and the obstacles will go. This is so easy for me to do. I will make it like a new garment. So I don't have a specific vision or plan, but my heart, my desire is to surrender Messy Church to God and say, God, have your way. This is yours. Would you make it like a new garment? Would you increase the temperature? If there is any obstacles, any wrinkles that need to be gone, that I give that to you and ask for your help and ask for your wisdom in doing that.
But we really felt challenged about Tim Alford's opening talk at the Limitless Oxygen, where he talked about, you know, if you've got a Bible in your hand and a passion in your heart, what would your youth ministry look like? And certainly we've got a Bible in our hands, and we do have a real passion in our heart for our youth. And so, you know, we've started to think about, you know, we feel encouraged to you know, prune away some of those traditions that aren't necessary or they're not fulfilling a purpose. And while we've been praying about it and thinking about it, we just really feel that we want to create a place where the young people know that they belong at our church. You know, so we've got a hub, a safe place where they can explore, they can ask questions, they can challenge, and they can really explore and deepen their faith, but also use us as a springboard to maybe tap into other Christian organisations in Bath. We've got some amazing things like the World Sports Ministries. We've got Bath United, who have a real passion in their heart for young people, and young people from different churches all coming together. And we really want to get on board with that. And also for, you know, for young people in there, they might have schools, Christian unions, and we just want to encourage them to really explore all those things as well to help them with their faith.
Well, our greatest resource is the children of Lighthouse. We want to teach and equip the kids the skills to be evangelists in their schools and communities. We want them to bring their friends along and develop their spiritual life and encounter God on a daily basis. We want them to teach God's amazing love to their friends and communities. We also recognise that the home is the centre of discipleship. And parents, you have done and are still doing an amazing job. And we want to continue to build relationships with you, do life alongside you, and empower you to disciple your children. We've invested time and money also preparing the downstairs hall to be able to welcome many children and families back to church. And we are really excited about the road ahead and building community. We want to build memories and totally rely on God for all that we need.